Coming in hot on a Rule of Two, and it's episode 53.
It's a Rule of Two Monday.
It's a Rule of Two Monday,
Yeah.
episode 53. I'm your host, Mark Reilly, joined as always by Marc Fernandez.
53, which is the... Hold on, we looked this up because we had trouble finding 53.
I got it.
Linebacker from the New York Giants, Hall of Famer. It was...
Rhymes with... He had a late night show, Johnny Carson.
Harry Carson.
Harry Carson,
number 53, linebacker, New York Giants.
That's
it's the
right.
Harry Carson
it's
episode.
the Harry Carson episode, and what better way to celebrate than inviting in our own Haley Fouch
Hello.
to join us. Yeah, Harry Carson fan? Probably not.
I
yeah.
don't know who that is, but
Neither
my name
do I.
also starts with H.
It's very true. So this
there we
is
go.
why we have Haley Fouch on. The reason we're bringing in Haley is because there's some news that we want to get to. There are two big news stories that happened pretty much today. One of them being John Williams' brother, who
Yep.
actually also is in percussions for all of John Williams' score. He just revealed some information about the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker soundtrack, the score. But there's also a report out of Fox Business about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, we'll get into that
Yeah,
stuff.
we're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that. And
But
first of all, I'm very... it's no secret, that a lot of folks here haven't been to Galaxy's Edge. But
No,
Haley
but
has
Haley
been.
has.
Haley has been. Haley has been. Not Haley is a has been.
No.
Well,
Haley-
tone it down, guys.
Easy now. We're all
Haley-
friends
Fight me
here on
on your
Rule of Two.
show.
Yeah. But look, I'm very glad that Haley's here to chat with us a little bit about it.
Me too.
She's a huge contributor to Collider.com.
Yep.
If you've checked her out there.
My fellow horror nerd as well.
Also, one of the two hosts of the Witching Hour.
That's right.
Which are doing some great stuff.
Absolutely.
You guys have a live show that you're doing this weekend, right?
Yeah, we do. We're going up to the North Bend Film Festival, and
right.
we're going to do a live show with director Jennifer Reeder, who has this great new indie film coming out, Knives and Skin.
Oh, wow.
I'm super excited.
Road
I
trip?
hope some people make it out road trip.
Is it like you said going up? Is it far?
Oh, it's up in Washington, North Bend, Washington, where they filmed Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there it
So
is.
it is a road trip. Oh, you're flying there.
We'll fly.
You're flying.
Yeah.
It's not a road trip.
We
It's
got
not a road
jobs
trip.
and stuff. You know how it is.
Fair enough. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Come back and work. That'll be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. It was relaxing. Took care of some wedding stuff. It's all out of the way. It's happening. So everybody out there, thank you very much for the support. Yep. Wedding stuff, relaxing, caught up on some movies. So not bad. How about you?
I
You
had
were getting sweaty.
I had a
saw.
typical again. I went down the rabbit hole
I
of
know you
Star
did.
Wars nerddom. It's just like somebody's really got to pull me out. Somebody's got to pull me out of it.
Nah, I like it.
I went
I like
deep.
when you're like, I didn't even understand the tweet. I just saw a picture.
Yeah.
And it was a guy holding a lightsaber getting ready to face somebody with a lightsaber.
That's my apprentice.
That's
my apprentice, yeah.
So I can talk about it on Rule of Two where I go, dude, you've been nerding out and I like it.
Yeah, that's my apprentice. Skyrim VR, complete and total Star Wars conversion mod. Inside Oculus Rift, it was a blast. It was a blast. I must have spent like 4 hours in there.
He finally showed me this.
Haley looked shocked.
It's just Ready Player One, right?
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting there. I mean, we're already there.
We're there. This
Every
is not
Saturday,
even Fernandez. This is a digital recreation that is just beamed through the cameras here,
Yeah,
right? You're at
yeah.
home right now doing VR.
But look, I need to celebrate Star Wars at least once a week in
Yeah.
some special, intimate way where I get that suspension of disbelief, where that sort of brand in that universe affects me like at a visceral state,
Yeah.
and it's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Being a Star
I'm a
Wars fan?
43-year-old dude spending 5 hours inside Skyrim pretending to be in a Star Wars game. I mean, anyway, let's not get...
This is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
There are worse things.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
are much worse things.
There are
much
worse things.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we have a lot to get to. It's episode 53 of Rule of Two.
Rise.
That's right. Welcome, everybody. Rule of Two, episode 53. It's a celebration of the Star Wars saga, the films, the comics, the books, the TV show, everything. And we have our special guest, Haley Fouch, that you heard up top. Joining me, as always, Marc Fernandez. Welcome, everyone, to Rule of Two. We are live right now.
We're
Thank
live.
you. And if you are listening on your Jedi Council PodcastOne feed, thank you for tuning in. But let's get right to it. I want to
We're
start.
taking calls.
We're going to take calls at the end of the show. Yeah.
No. We're taking calls throughout the entire show.
You want to do it?
Yeah. Look, it's
I'm
calling
fine
now.
with that. I'm fine.
323-522-5515. It doesn't make any cool little word thing, but
No, but
it's the hardest number to remember.
that number works, and we get some lightsaber sounds, and we get you live on the air.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning in here on the live chat. I see it going. The Rule of Two Army is
we
here.
We
already have.
So we don't even have a topic, but we have a caller. So just bear with us.
All
Haley,
Why not?
Okay?
Why not?
Okay, caller.
Hey, caller, you're on Rule of Two. What do you got?
Hi. I have a couple questions.
All right.
Time. My first question is one of my favorite things from The Last Jedi was the one scene where you see Kylo Ren and Leia connect in the Force.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites,
that was my
too.
favorite thing. I really am a huge fan of that because I thought that relationship is more important to me than Rey's and Kylo. So what do you think, how do you think they're going to resolve Kylo and Leia's relationship in this movie? Because they haven't really talked about it at all in the previous two films.
It's a great question. We'll let Haley take it first since she's our guest.
Yeah, Haley, I'd like your thoughts on this. I love that scene as well in The Last Jedi. I have my thoughts, but what do you think so far?
I am a big fan of The Last Jedi.
Yes.
I do love that
Welcome
film.
to the show.
Thank you.
I'm looking at Fernandez.
As I
He's like-
warned Mark, you may not love my opinions.
No, it's all good. First of all, I love your opinions. I might not agree with your
There we
opinions,
go.
but I do love the fact that you have opinions is what this show is all about. So I'm sorry, continue.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like everything involving Leia is the biggest question mark right now, right? Like, how do they? That's the elephant in the room, so to speak. Is how do you cross that bridge?
Right.
And my hope is that in some way they fulfill it. I also love that scene, and I think there should be some strong resolution between her and her son.
Yeah.
I am invested in the Kylo-Rey relationship, and I'm sure that will probably be the primary focus, being that, the younger generation are the leading characters of these new films.
Right.
But I would love, I don't know, I guess it depends on what they have coming for Kylo, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to see something tender, but maybe that's not the way the character is going to break.
It's interesting. I mean, that is the real question. It is the reality of the situation is Carrie Fisher is no longer with us. I can see them doing something similar that they did in The Last Jedi, where if they have footage of Carrie Fisher a la General Leia, and they can do something where maybe there is a connection with the Force, and that we're able to see. And Adam Driver filmed some scenes as Kylo Ren communicating with Leia through the Force and cutting to whatever that footage is, make it work in the story. I think that could work, and that's me knowing nothing of what footage they do have.
Yeah.
And for that, you just need reaction shots.
Reactions,
which you can
exactly.
do pretty easily.
Yeah, and look, for me, the reason I also love that scene, I think that's actually one of the few highlights the movie has to offer. And the reason why I think that is mainly because that is, where you're having some fun with the brand pillars of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You have the family saga. This has always been the Skywalker saga, right? So you have a scene that's focused on mother and son, both Skywalkers, right? You have them communicating over a distance, over space, through the Force, right? So that you have another huge Star Wars pillar.
Right.
You have the Force. You have the Skywalker saga connection. The biggest problem with that scene is that it's over much too quickly, and it doesn't, to the caller's point, it never really has that resolve, or it doesn't even have that much exploration in the film. And that's always, to me, been one of the issues inside of the sequels, is that you're told certain things and you assume them and you can kind of see them on screen, but you never really explore them, right?
Yeah.
You never really explore Kylo being lost to Snoke, which we've talked about on this show 100 times. You never really explore Han's relationship with Kylo. You just know that it went bad at some point, and it went so bad that he killed him.
Right.
But you never really explore their relationship. They never really have a moment with each other, or a series of moments to make that final moment that much punchier. That's always been kind of my issues with these new films, is that they're all pretty superficial.
Yeah, I mean...
I agree.
Yeah, please, go.
I agree with you 100%, Marc Fernandez, because I love The Force Awakens a lot. I liked the mystery box aspect of it in that we had so many questions going out of that movie, but I feel like Rian Johnson took those ideas and then made them exactly the same in the next movie, just with a slightly different plot, and where he could have expanded and made it less superficial, like Mark said. But everyone went through the same arc. Everyone went through the exact same arc in that movie. So every time I watch that movie, like I like it less because of that reason. But the thing I don't agree with Mark is I'm trying to like Revenge of the Sith more than I do, and my biggest thing with it is Anakin's turn to the dark side in general is a little muddy to me, because you see
it's a little what to you? I'm sorry? Say it again?
Muddy?
It's muddy.
Muddy. Okay.
It's not clear. And maybe that's the point, but I think it's the whole trilogy in general, but you start with Anakin as a child being so humble, so generous, and then all of a sudden you get Anakin in Attack of the Clones, and he is arrogant and selfish in a lot of ways. And then in Revenge of the Sith, it's just we don't know. Like for me, I had a hard time with why he was killing all the younglings. Like I get he's trying to save his wife, and they're just for me was not a progression to how he was evil in any way. And I'd love to get your insight of why you think that movie is so great when it comes to the turn of Darth Vader.
Look, what is this? That's a series. So first of all, thank you very much for your call. Please call again. We love hearing these kind of questions. So thank you for your call. Look, first of all, my reasons for why I love the Revenge of the Sith so much is a series of podcasts, which I will do. It's probably going to be like it's like the Burr. What's that guy's name? The documentarian for PBS. James Burr.
God.
The guy who does the Civil War and like all that stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I know who you're talking about.
Cody.
The Vietnam guy?
Anyway, God, Cody's always on that.
Cody's like back there.
Bill Burns.
Ken Burns.
I
got it. Ken Burns.
Yeah, so I'm going to do my own Ken Burns level epic thing about Revenge of the Sith. But look, it's a good point, right? It's all point of view, right? It's like to me, Anakin's turn is a glorious one, because he turns to the dark side based on what I feel is humanity's biggest vulnerability, which is jealousy.
Jealousy, that could be construed as love and separation and attachment, which is the Jedi. He doesn't want to lose Padme.
And what is jealousy? Jealousy is the fear of losing something.
Yes, exactly.
So that's what the Emperor. That's what Sidious was able to poke at. His jealousy. And look, I'm susceptible to jealousy.
Right.
It's destroyed relationships in my life, so I know how dark that can get. And that, to me, I thought was a really, really interesting play, especially at the end when you get Anakin and Obi-Wan. And it's like, you brought him here to kill me. Yeah. It's like he's basically jealous of Obi-Wan. You know what I mean?
What's interesting? I completely agree with that. I felt when I first saw Revenge of the Sith that it was very muddy, to use her word. I did not really understand.
That is why you failed.
Is that why I failed? But it was years later. It's true. It's true. I failed the prequels. I failed the prequel test. But it was years later that I start with, I'm rewatching these movies and I'm like, okay, that is the reason. I see that. But I will always say some of the execution in the prequels left something to be desired for me.
Yeah.
And it worked for you. Years later, I was able to go, I see exactly what he was doing.
The intention is there.
The intention is there.
For you, the execution isn't great. For me,
right.
I can see past the execution at times.
Sure.
Because the story that I'm getting is so powerful.
Right. And I think it's the same with the sequel trilogy. I think people could go back. There was no internet back then, but if the original trilogy came out today with today's internet culture, I think there would be a lot of things that were, that didn't land with me. I don't know. It's really hard to put wrap your head around that idea.
So look, let's get to our top story, because I do want to chat with Haley about this. This is why we brought her into the fold as a Sith apprentice today.
Yeah, you okay? You okay going dark side?
Yeah.
For this podcast,
Just
yes.
for this podcast. Okay, good.
I'm pretty dedicated to the light in general,
Yeah,
but
right.
for you
We
guys,
got her to the dark side
The
pretty
light.
easy.
Yeah.
for a pair of marks.
I know. Pair of Marks in the dark side.
Yeah.
The new show, the new
So,
spin-off show.
so talked about it. This all started with the earnings call, right? Bob Iger had an earnings call talking Disney.
That's correct. Yeah, Bob Iger did say he shed some light about the idea of, let's call it flopping, to use Fox Business, which is the source that we're going to here, as to Galaxy's Edge not really being a complete and total success right now. So Bob Iger did say, I'm trying to find exactly the quote. If you want to talk real quick while I find it. I don't want it to be this big
Bottom
pause.
line is, look, this isn't a news show, and obviously we don't have a newsman here because this happens to us every time we try to do a headline. But
Yeah.
which is all good. Look, bottom line is, what I've been hearing is that there's this news story kind of picking up a little bit of steam. Because look, Star Wars news right now is a little bit light, right? So anything that pops up, people start picking up on and circulating, right? Basically, there was an earnings call at some point last week. And Bob Iger was giving reasons as to why the overall numbers are down.
Right.
Mainly because of Galaxy's Edge and the Rise of the Phoenix movie. Both of these things did very poorly.
Right.
The stock is down.
Right.
And also people are getting their hours cut at Galaxy's Edge from being full-time employees to 30 to 35 hours.
Here's where it comes in. So
Yeah.
let's start with Bob Iger saying some people stayed away from Galaxy's Edge just because they expected that it would not be a great guest experience. Now, I'm reading between the lines. I've read some other things, they thought it was going to be too crowded. They thought it was going to be just like this. You're packed in there, long wait time. So people, he's assuming, stayed away because of that. So the source, though, for Fox Business is saying a different thing, that because there's not a lot of people, you mentioned it, Fernandez, they're cutting the hours down from 40 hours a week to 30 to 35. Some source has said that I feel the problem is Star Wars Land took too long to build and that they rushed the opening with only one cool feature. The only other big ride is not even scheduled. The Rise of the Resistance going to come out early 2020. So we only have that one ride.
Yeah. So,
and then the experience.
So, like for me, and I definitely have some questions for Haley on this, but just some thoughts for me. Overall, I'd want to know whether theme park attendance is up or down across the board, because I think it might be a little bit unfair to point the finger exactly at Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge if there's downturn in attendance across the board.
Right.
Even though every other weekend I see all my friends on Instagram drinking that butter beer over at Harry Potter Land, right?
Right.
So that seems to be doing fine. But
Yeah.
but I don't know, right?
That's a good question.
Second thing, which ties into another rumor that we heard, is that supposedly, and this is what I want to ask you about, supposedly there's not a ton of focus on the sort of original canon characters at Galaxy's Edge. And I'm talking about the original trilogy of the Luke, Leia, Han, Darth Vader, Emperor, and the prequels, Anakin, young Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Padme. Right? That there's very little focus on them.
Lots of Reys, lots of Kylo Rens.
Lots of Reys, lots of Kylo Rens, and that across the board on merchandising and all these things, that's been very weak from the beginning. Rey, Kylo, none of these things are selling from the beginning. Because look, we're the fans of Star Wars, right? We're a slightly older audience. It's failed to connect with that younger audience the same way. Because I think Lucas was more tactical at pointing it towards little kids than the new regime maybe is. But anyway, you've actually been there. We haven't.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's probably a variety of situations that are happening.
Yeah.
I think that the comment about only having one ride is dead on. Because when I came back from that and I was like, well, I have to turn out my content now. So here are the best things you can do at Galaxy's Edge. And I realized that out of 9 of them, 8 you had to pay more money to do them.
Really?
There's really nothing you can do there that's included in the experience except for that one ride. So if you want to try the blue milk or the green milk, you got to pay for it.
Upcharge.
Lightsaber?
Upcharge.
Pay for it.
Yep.
You want to take home a droid? Pay for it.
Upcharge.
All you can do there is you can go on this one ride, or you can take cool Instagram pictures, and that's
Right.
what you can do for free.
Right.
Everything else will
For
cost you.
$159, because that's what it
Exactly.
costs you to get in.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
you're already paying ad parking onto that.
Yeah.
Add if you're a family. If
And
you're a
if you're
family coming
traveling
out
here.
there, traveling here, hotels, all these things. I think people, for me, I can speak to a little bit of experience to this. I went, no way am I going right now unless
Nope.
it's a work thing. I don't want to go right now. I don't want to deal with the crowds. Haven't even tried to go. That was my feeling.
But supposedly the crowds aren't even there. Talk to me a little bit about
Right.
the ride.
The ride.
Yeah.
That's another interesting qualifier there because the ride is a multi-person experience, which means everyone who goes on it is going to have a different experience, which means everyone wants to fly it, right? But not everyone gets to do that. Some
Right.
people get stuck on gunner, which is literally poking a button for 3 minutes, you know? That's not a great ride experience.
Right.
Sure.
So I think people are less excited about that ride than they might be if it was like every single person who gets in this line gets to fly the Millennium
What did you
Falcon.
get to do on the Falcon?
I did all three because it was a press event, so I got to, you know, sort of run through the line a few times.
So there's three.
Three positions.
There's three
yeah.
positions. It's the flyer.
You got the pilot, you got the engineer, and you got the gunner.
Okay.
Engineer is kind of fun, but it is pushing buttons, but it's like pushing buttons in a timed manner to make sure you're fixing the things that
So
are
the thing
shown.
lights up and
Yeah.
you press it.
Is
Your
there
screen-
music playing? Can you?
Oh.
Are you? Is it scored?
Oh yeah, so it's
Okay,
a
I
whole
figured.
like the screen is like a very immersive big screen at the front of the ship. There's music. There's you're being jolted around.
Is it a vomitorium like Star Tours used to be?
Not
Because that was a full-fledged vomitorium.
not
It was
that
horrific.
bad, but it's not far off.
It's not far off,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Oh my lord.
I think the seating makes it a little better because you're not in a theater arrangement. You feel as if you are actually in the ship flying or
Yeah.
being a part of it. But it's jerky.
Oh,
It'll
man,
throw you around.
In at Celebration, whenever it was in Orlando, were you with us in Orlando?
No.
So we all went into that Star Tours thing, and I swear to God, I was shaking off vomiting for like 45 minutes after I got out of that
Yeah.
thing.
It is a motion simulator, so it does have that impact. But again, I do think being able to move around in your chair and do things
Right,
that are
and
not
like
dead on the screen.
Right. Take your eyes off the screen
Yeah.
for a little bit. And how long is the experience?
Ooh, I didn't time it exactly, but it's a few minutes. It's not like they're not jipping you on length.
Right.
You get to fly through multiple locations and try to. I think it's the engineer has to like trigger something to grab these carts that you're trying to transport,
Right.
and
Okay.
you take them to place, and you try to land with the carts, which I didn't see anyone successfully do. It's very
so
hard.
there are actually win and loss scenarios.
Yeah. You get like
Oh, that's kind of cool.
a variant of money that you make for taking the job, and it can end up that you make a lot of money if you do well, or you can end up in debt when you
Gotcha.
leave. And then, in theory, people at the bar or at the cantina will be like, "Hey, I heard about you. You better watch out. He's got he's looking for you.
Right.
Got a
Right.
bounty out."
So if you do really well, do you get any kind of perk?
You get like the in-app money, so no actual funds or anything.
But you
get
can do
this.
something with the in-app money?
You get
Yeah,
this.
yeah, you get like in-app credits so that you can play certain games or like collect things within the app. And the app is one of the few free things you can do there is like you can point it without, just without abandon throughout the park, and your phone will find something that's interactive to land on.
That's cool. So,
Yeah.
so it's like a little AR, like Galaxy's
Exactly
Edge
right.
app? Or is it all for the entire Disney park, or is it specific to Galaxy's Edge?
Specific to Galaxy's Edge, you can point at things and decode what they say. You can try to hack into radio transmissions to hear what people are talking about. But it's all very limited, which is to say it's all within the app. There's not a ton that then comes back out into
Yeah.
the real world once you bring that real world into the app.
Right.
Did you get the saber?
No, man.
You didn't do it.
My mission was not to spend any money, which was a mistake. I should have spent like a lot of money and then put it on eBay. I wasn't thinking well.
Right.
I've also heard that the sabers are not working after a few days later.
Are you
saw
serious?
Yeah, I saw a big Twitter thread of some people that were like, "Hey, my lightsaber is not working that well," which I'm like, "Come on, you can't go spend." And I've heard people are spending a lot of money on these things.
$212.
Right. And so if then it's getting home and it's a week later, a few days later, whatever it may be, that sucks.
And it
That's
stops
bad.
working?
And it stopped working. This is just according to Twitter. Could
Did
be
you
wrong.
have any temptation? Were you at all tempted to get the saber?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very tempting, but it's also like $200.
Do you know
And
how much I want a
have-
saber? I am not buying. I'm not spending
No.
my money on that right now.
But I also
not right now.
I recognize that part of that $200 is the full experience
Sure,
because you're in a
right.
group that's a very small group in this
But
workshop.
you did the experience.
No, I didn't get to go through that one. I got to go through the droid workshop.
Okay.
They took us through that one, which is very cool. Also quite expensive. But
I'm noticing a theme
Did
here.
Did you buy a droid?
No, man, I didn't buy anything.
You didn't buy anything.
I was like, Disney gets nothing from me.
Yeah. Except a good article, which you can go check out at Collider.com.
That's
Exactly.
right. A couple
Nicely
videos,
done.
an article, but none of my funds.
Yeah.
No, but that's also another, again, upsell, because
Upcharge. Yeah, upsell.
with your droid, you can get custom decals, you can get custom personality chips, you can get all of this. It doesn't have, it just has sort of a generic personality unless you give it like a resistance personality.
Really? That's kind of cool in theory.
It's cool in theory, but the price is it escalates at such an exponential level that I think it's prohibitive for a lot of people who just want to go have an experience. And I think to point to something that you brought up that I also think is a problem is
I like that.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
the lack of attention to the original trilogy is very much by design.
Yes.
It is because they want you to feel a part of a living Star Wars story, and that Star Wars story is of the past, right?
Right.
We have moved on in the timeline from them, and they want you to feel that you're in it.
Okay.
However, because there's only one thing you can do for free, except for the app, which is the second thing,
Okay.
it's very hard to feel a part of that story.
Right.
Like, I think that when you have, which is supposed to be the most groundbreaking ride that's ever been created, maybe that'll change the game. And I do expect numbers to go up once they have both rides open.
I think numbers will go up. I think,
And the other ride is like a resistance, like multimedia theater thing or something?
Rise of the
Something.
Resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like life-size Kylo Rens that
Yeah.
come out. And I know there's some stuff planned. But you know what's interesting, to your point, Haley, about the original characters. Let's just say the old school characters, the Luke, the Hans, the Leias, the Landos. One of the first reactions off of our tweet, and I don't know if this is a question or because they knew that this was news out there that we were talking about, but the idea that they feel it's a little bit of an empty kind of experience. Like, where are my Han Solos and Chewies coming out of the Falcon and talking to us? More characters interaction, and especially in the canteen, because it feels just like regular people are walking in a theme area instead of it being Star Wars.
I would agree. And I can only say having gone on the press night, but you would think they'd bring out the big guns for the press night, right?
Yeah.
We went to the cantina. We were not able to experience it in full. They were not selling drinks. We could only try the ones they had provided for us.
Right.
But more importantly, you're in there, and you'd think you'd see, like, costumed aliens boop-bopping around. But really, there's just DJ Rex.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel, in fact, that you are in that story, because you know that if you were in a cantina in a Star Wars story, it'd be filled with life creatures you couldn't recognize. And instead, you're just filled with tourists.
A special shout-out. Okay, to what I think might be J.J. Abrams' single greatest contribution to Star Wars.
Okay.
Ooh, baby, bad. Whatever that's like. Ooh, da, 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 ooh, oogie, oogie. Okay, gig, gag.
I have no idea.
That is
And
for
that's
sure J.J.
Lin-Manuel
Abrams.
Miranda
That's
did
what I was
that.
gonna
Big,
say.
oh, is that? I've always
created
thought,
that.
I
He
thought it
wrote
was
that.
J.J. wrote that.
No. I think he wrote it with
He's been trying to
Lin-Manuel.
spin it. He's been trying to spin it like he wrote that.
No,
Well, he
Lin-Manuel Miranda
definitely-
did it.
Baby, bad. How
He
does
had help from an actual genius on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No disrespect to the genius of J.J. Abrams, but
Yeah,
like a
right.
musical
But
genius
you
was
did
involved.
disrespect him there for a second.
No, I corrected, of course,
Okay,
because
okay.
everything you say on air is taken out of context. You have to
This
provide the
isn't
context.
live. We can just
Yeah.
We're fine. We're live.
Baby, bad.
I found that very interesting, though. I found it very interesting that right out of the gate, a Twitter user and Dustin, I want to thank you for your tweet. Prince Dustin at Prince Dustin is saying, "Where's the experience?" And it's interesting to have that story then that you told, because it's like, yeah, if they want us to be in a fully immersed, living Star Wars story, to your example, not there yet.
Not
right?
there yet.
Okay, not there yet. Personally, for me, I want to walk in there. I would love it if Han Solo came off of the Falcon. I know that that's an old story and that the character is no longer with us, and I understand that. But you gotta.
It's
isn't
a
it
theme
little-
park. It's a theme park. Like Mickey Mouse has been Mickey Mouse for,
This is
for
exactly the
75
point.
years,
This
right?
is-
Like,
this is where you and I are right here.
Fantasyland been going because
Right.
people love nostalgia. They love to see the
Cinder-
things.
Absolutely.
Cinderella is an
Absolutely.
old movie,
So-
and it's in the past, but she's walking around taking pictures.
This leads me to a rumor.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Shit, here we go. All right.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do
look, this rumor, just to be very, 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 very clear,
It's a rumor.
this rumor has zero good sourcing to it.
Cool.
but it's been picking up steam. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the rumor, and then you tell me whether you think it's real or it's complete BS. Okay,
I'll base it on as little sources as this rumor has.
Yes. So supposedly, okay, when George Lucas sold all the Star Wars rights over to Disney, there was some clause or something in the contract which allowed George Lucas to still collect revenue based on certain things that are connected with the older characters, right? The characters in the prequels and the characters in the original trilogy.
I.e. the ones he created.
I.e. the ones that he created. That if they kept using those under certain guidelines, that he was allowed to connect ongoing residuals for those characters.
Right.
And that because they want to avoid paying him that, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense, that they are trying to move away from those characters and try to invent completely new ones under the Star Wars brand. And that this is the reason why Galaxy's Edge is so anti-original trilogy, anti-prequels. This is why, quote unquote, they're like getting rid of all the old characters in the saga films because they don't want any of that baggage to retain payment to Lucas. To that rumor, do you say BS, maybe, or what?
Maybe leaning into BS. I think he likely does get more money for things he created. That's generally how IP works. But
But he sold it. I mean, he sold it for $4 billion.
Yeah, but I mean, if you could get more in that contract, wouldn't you? You're a businessman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not unheard of that there's ongoing royalties.
Exactly.
Sure.
So that sounds like it checks out to me, possibly. But what doesn't check out to me is Disney not being willing to pony up the cash to get more cash from it, because Disney will throw money like crazy. And if their numbers were explicitly saying people are only buying this stuff, then I think they would pay those royalties because the payoff would be worth more, right?
Yeah.
I do believe that the reason
That's the best point. Because I was willing to jump in with you.
Let her finish it. That's it?
I love to be agreed with.
Yeah.
But I think
that good a point.
I do agree I do think that they really are trying to put people in an immersive current story, and that's why. I think they may ultimately reflect on that and see that's not the path to the most money, essentially.
Yeah. With the most fan support, right?
Right. It really is. I mean, not to repeat myself, but Fantasyland is the oldest part of the park, and it's still around because people love to return to the things they loved as kids.
Space Mountain never gets old.
It's not as much fun to go into a new world as an adult. You're not going to be convinced you're in a new world. You're an adult.
Yeah.
Right.
Does it play into it that because Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Goofy and Pluto and all those folks are they're cartoons, right? So it's easy to put the like a cartoon thing on and do it. Luke, Han, Leia, all these things are humans, so you'd have to get actors that are lookalikes and then it's like, well, wait a minute, it's not canon that you're walking around and blah blah blah.
But they've been doing this for years with Snow White and Cinderella, Little Mermaid, and
we got another $10. We always stop if somebody drops a 10 on us, a
How
tenner.
could you not?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Michael Alcott. You want me to read this?
Do it.
Okay. Dark Empire ends with Palpatine trying to take over a Solo, but being blocked and absorbed by a dying Jedi who then dies and takes Palpatine with him to the netherworld. You lost me.
First of all, this is your
Dark
thing.
Empire.
Dark
Yeah,
Empire is your thing, but it's been like 20 years since you read it. So
No. It took me a little bit to get there, but I realized.
So try it again.
Ends with Palpatine trying to take over Solo. Yes, they were but being blocked and absorbed by a dying Jedi. Yes. So Leia is pregnant in the Dark Empire series with Han Solo, obviously, and he's basically he's going to jump into those bodies. That's what he wants to do, into the baby that's in there. If I remember correctly. So, absorbed by a dying Jedi who then dies and takes Palpatine with them to the netherworld, other ghosts. Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember that much, but...
Good question, Michael. Thank you for the support.
I mean, I'm assuming, are you bringing in this theory for Rise of Skywalker? Look, Dark Empire keeps coming up now because Palpatine is back, and because all I do is bring up Dark Empire on every Star Wars show I'm on, because there is precedent set in at least that legend novel that Palpatine cloned a number of himself, and then would jump in, use dark side energy, and jump into that body. And when the body would wither and die, he would just jump into another body. But he needed a better host, and he's looking to Leia.
Question for you: Is this on the timeline of what's canon now? Is this no longer canon?
No longer canon.
But it's
Legends.
the thing that they're like, you can pull from it though, right?
Yes, and I believe that they cherry pick a number of things. Kylo Ren is just a repurposed Jason Solo.
Of Jason, yeah.
That's what he is. He's maybe not a twin. Maybe he is, and we don't know, and Rey's the twin
Jason
at the end of
mixed
Rise.
with the third. There was that other Solo kid who did go full Sith.
Jason.
Jason was a full
Jason
Sith?
Solo, yeah, and then Janna Solo, and then I believe they had a third. I think
it's
Ben.
three of them.
I want to say
Ben.
I want to say that they did name him Ben.
Yeah, Ben and Jason, right.
But
right.
you guys with the legend stuff, this has been years since I've read into that stuff, and after a while, I fell off the novels.
So look, one little bit of housekeeping that I do want to address.
Great.
Okay, so last week we had a great show. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out there, call in now, 323-522-5515. We're blessed to have Haley here. She'll also help answer questions. But last week we had Star Wars Theory on the show.
Right.
Who's a big who's a big supporter of us, and we are of him.
Nice guy too.
And he had a theory
Yeah.
about the Emperor jumping into basically the Emperor jumping into Kylo's body, and Kylo kind of killing himself along with the Emperor's soul with him, and that
Right.
was kind of like the end, right?
Yeah.
And we got a lot of feedback on that was like a spoiler for the movie. It's a theory.
Yeah.
Okay? Right now, nobody knows anything. If JJ's good at anything, it's keeping things under wrap. Okay? This happened with Laws. JJ is very good about keeping things secret. Nobody knows anything. Every theory is basically BS right now.
Right.
Okay? Unless there was like some real leaks, right? We've heard no leaks. All of this stuff is conjecture.
It's all theories.
So we're not spoiling anything. There is no spoiler warning. This is all made up fanfare in our own head.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
we got a phone call. You're on Rule of Two. Who do we got? Hi.
Hi, this is Mike from Salem.
Hey, Mike. How are you? What's your question today?
Well, another BS spoiler warning theory to throw out there. I
That
guess.
could come true and spoil for everybody. That's okay. We're
Yeah,
with you.
Might just ruin it. No, but I've just been kicking around, like, keep rewatching the trailer. It's all we got so far. Every time I come to that scene where they're at the Death Star ruins, I'm like, what are they going for?
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, like, maybe they need some Kyber.
Oh.
You know? Like, that's just keep
Some
coming back
Kyber
to that.
crystal.
Like, she fixes her lightsaber.
That's a great theory.
That's a great one.
Let's flash that
Just something
spoiler
I was kicking
alert.
around.
We just spoiled Rise of Skywalker.
First of all,
Spoiler
hold on,
alert, right?
hold on, Carl. Let me ask you a question. You're saying your name is Mike? You said?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike. You're saying that in that scene, to fix her lightsaber or whatever, maybe to start a new generation of Jedi, they go to the Death Star to
exactly.
mine the Kyber crystals. That's dope.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
there's a
great.
load of it in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a great
yeah.
that's a great call. And we don't know, right? Let's see. There's probably some I don't know if there's canon material, but there might be a lightsaber there, like Darth Vader's lightsaber was cut off.
Look, first of all,
in
it's a
Return of
very
the Jedi.
opportunistic idea. It's like, Jedda's gone. We can't get Kybers there anymore. Like, where the hell do we get Kyber crystals?
I would love that.
I have an idea. Let's go to the Death Star.
I would love that. I think
Yeah.
that makes a lot of
Where
sense.
they took all the Kyber from Jeddah.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you think about that theory, Haley?
I think it's very smart.
Yeah.
And I think you better get ready for people to be mad at you for spoilers, Mark. Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm with two
Mike,
arcs.
Mark.
Thank
Mike.
you very much for the
yeah.
call, Mike.
Thank you for the call. That's a great theory.
very good call,
It's a
yeah.
very good call. It goes into I did get something on Twitter that I'll address because I feel like it has something to do with that, which was the idea that Rey is learning her powers and everything and how they could get in there. And he's like, do you think Rey will lift the Death Star using the Force? And I was, I don't know, sure.
It's within her means.
If it's in her means, well, she can lift it a little bit. Just a nice little opening for Poe and Finn to get in there and get some Kyber crystals.
Yeah.
But who knows? I don't know.
Let me ask a little throwback to last week's episode, but I'd love to get Haley's thoughts on this.
Okay.
There's a theory floating around, okay, which I believe was given to us by our very own Star Wars theory. I think that's where it was. That's where I heard it anyway, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I hear so many theories, but basically that the bottom line is that somehow at the end of Rise of Skywalker, the Emperor somehow they send a pregnant Rey back in time.
God.
and that they actually sent her to Tatooine.
Have you heard of this? This is a theory.
And
This,
that she
this popped
is
up on Reddit.
Shmi Skywalker.
Yeah.
And she is the mother of Anakin.
Did you watch Rebels?
I did not.
Okay, so there was
Again, only the film.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I'm
with
going
you.
I'm going to
I'm with you
spoil
on
it a
that.
little bit
Okay,
for you.
go for
Yeah,
it.
There
spoil
was
it. Spoil the
something
hell out of it.
introduced in Rebels called the World Between Worlds.
Okay.
In that, you can time travel. It's kind of like a portal. You're able to use it. I won't spoil how the Rebels use it, but it was to great effect, in my opinion. Very, very cool scenes that happen in Rebels. But that idea is now canon. So this theory is Palpatine uses World Between Worlds, takes Rey, who's very powerful, pulls her from the future, places her in the past in Tatooine. She then has to hide from the Empire, and so she becomes a slave, and she's on Tatooine, and then she gives birth to Anakin Skywalker. And then we have full circle, right? Right? I'm out.
I just
I can't do that one.
I appreciate you clarifying that time travel is in the canon because my
Very
A
weird
version of it,
Very
yeah.
weirdly in the canon.
Yeah.
reaction is too much for like the general audience to
Way
just
too
be
much.
like, this is suddenly a time travel movie. But I also just think that that extent of time travel would fall into too much for the general. Just like
Yeah.
if my aunt's going to see Star Wars, she's
Thank
like,
you.
what?
Yeah.
That is my biggest
Yeah.
point. You introduced that on the last movie of
Yeah.
the saga?
Yeah, we're having way too much fun on this episode. Haley, I can't believe this is the first time that you're on the show.
I love this.
So
yeah.
look, thank you. We got a caller, so do your bit.
We got a caller. You're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
Just wait 1 second, caller. Wait 1 second. I got to do one thing here real quick.
Okay.
So we got a question from Tasty Waffle, $5 question. Again, we don't solicit these things, but if they come in, we do try to take care of them. It'll be a great question for Haley.
Okay.
And somebody just hit us with a 20 beaner.
I know.
Ooh.
A 20 spot.
High
We'll do
rolling.
that. We'll
High
do that
roll
as
it.
well.
All right, caller, what do you got for us?
And then maybe we'll hit our actual title.
Hey guys, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian. What's your question
What's up,
today?
guys? All right, I got a Big Mac thing that I think needs to be discussed. I'm trying
Yes.
to get through to you guys.
Okay.
It's an Easter egg that's buried in the Force Awakens documentary.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've ever watched that, but it's 6
I
minutes
did.
and 40 seconds in.
Okay.
And it's a artistic image of Darth Vader doing something using the Force that we've never seen before, and I really think you guys need to see it. So if somebody over there could like pull that doc up, 6 minutes 40 seconds in, it's
Yeah.
on the.
So can you just
Sorry.
can you just tell us what it is that he's doing?
Yeah, so it's Vader. It looks like he's above the atmosphere of Bespin, and it looks like he's using the Force to manipulate Luke's arm or something. And it's right in the TFA doc, and no one.
Yeah,
has
well,
talked
you know
about it.
what? First of all, thank you very much for the call, man. So, first of all, that totally jives with the whole idea of supposedly the Force Awakens was going to start with Luke's arm sort of floating
Yeah.
in space. So what the caller just brought up actually syncs with that. That could be an interesting thing. I'd love to see that.
Mark.
Yeah, I'd love to see that in the doc. Maybe there is some connective tissue there. So look, we're going to get to Tasty Waffles' question real quick.
Yeah.
I think that this is actually perfect for Haley because you're a big fan of The Last Jedi, and I think your perspective here would be very interesting. I have my own ideas. I'm sure Riley will as well. What are your thoughts on Reylo, which is the idea of Ben Solo and Rey in a romantic relationship? Very quickly for me, that to me was my favorite part about The Last Jedi was that tension between the two of them.
Yeah.
So I actually love that thing, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Oh, I love talking about this. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's so sexy because it inherently doesn't work, right?
Right.
That's what makes it so appealing. It's just it's an outright terrible idea for both of them.
Right.
Well, maybe not for him, but certainly for her.
Not for her. Right.
And you see in that film that he genuinely negs her like really artfully. He's like, "You're nothing, you're no one, but not to me." Like he's
Right.
he's making very strong neg moves on her.
Yeah, manipulation at its finest
Yes.
via Sith.
So
Come
I
on.
think that's why it's so hot is because like who doesn't love a toxic bad boy, right?
Right.
It's an archetype for a reason. But I think that can never happen because it is the toxic bad boy who's negging her and manipulating her to try to be the worst version of herself.
Yeah.
Unless she
Is he though? Is he trying to make her the worst version of herself?
Oh, that's
or-
right. We got Darksiders in here. I forgot.
Yeah. We got.
Shit. He is. He's trying to get her to the dark side.
Yeah, he's trying to get her to kill all the people she cares about.
Right.
Does he actually
This is-
solicit murder from her? I don't remember that.
It's kind of implied. It's join
She
me.
has-
He's doing the Vader again. The echoes in the Star Wars universe. The throne room scene in The Last Jedi, which ends with them taking out the Praetorian Guards, he basically says, "Come with me, and we can rule the galaxy together."
And she has to let the rest of the Resistance die to do that.
Right.
Because the target is on them. She's like, "Okay, we won. Now we can save them." And
Yeah.
he's like, "No, come with me." And she's like, "No, we have to save these people."
Right.
And then they do their cool mind trick.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see, like, because very explicitly Vader tells Luke, "We'll rule the galaxy as father and son."
Right.
All I remember really Kylo telling Rey is, "Forget about your parentage. Who gives a shit about that?
Right. Let the past die.
Let the past die. You're your own woman. We can stand together and we can redefine what the universe means."
He's
But
saying that.
letting the past die very literally means letting all those people die on those ships right now.
Yeah, and he wasn't, and
Fair
she
enough,
had to leave.
fair enough.
She had to leave to go back to her friends. He was not offering her, "You're right, I'm on the light side now. Let's go clean up this mess." No, it's no. Come with me. We're going to rule this galaxy.
But I thought that he was kind of the way that I take it, and look through a
and
very
I love that you're taking it something.
skew.
Yeah.
Is like, we don't need anybody telling us what we are. We don't need anybody telling us what's light side, what's dark side. We just need to redefine our power in the way that we want to redefine our power
I think it's a great way to look at it, too.
without anybody influencing us.
I love that. I just can't back it because of the immediate casualty of her saying yes to it.
Right.
It is such a toxic offer inherently because of the death toll that comes with her giving in to that desire.
Right. But death toll what? We only got about 15 people left at this point.
But it also
All of
includes
her
his
friends.
mother.
right.
Yeah. All of her friends.
All of her
and she's-
friends.
All of her friends. She wants to. She's called back there. She returns.
Right.
She saves the
first of
day.
all, both of you are right, but maybe she should have heard him out just a little bit more. It's like, you know what? Like, Kylo, like, let's talk about this. Like,
I'm interested. Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
I have to go do a couple things. I'll be back though.
right.
I
All
think
right.
the idea is very appealing, and I personally, I think a lot of people feel this way. I would love to see it resolve in some way that is eschewing the light and dark a little in favor of a new approach to the universe and the
Right,
world.
which is
And I
what
think
people
that's-
think Skywalker means then.
Right,
Yeah,
So
I think-
halfway.
I think that is the theme that is really going through this new trilogy. It's balance.
Yeah.
It's the idea of maybe, and a lot of people brought up the gray Jedi idea, and I remember Pablo Hidalgo online was like, "I'm sick of this stuff." Everybody was hitting it up on Twitter. It was around The Force Awakens. It was like this idea of the gray Jedi. Well, what's a gray Jedi? It's like kind of Qui-Gon Jinn reminds me of a gray Jedi.
Yeah.
He was like, he was the Jedi
Dooku
Order.
to some point, right?
Dooku was a kind of a great
Yeah.
Jedi, and he
So-
finally didn't agree with anything and went over the dark side.
So we got another one. We got that 20 beaner. We'll ask everybody this. We'll start with
right.
Haley.
And no, we got
Ready, Haley? It's a little role play here.
Okay.
Okay.
Role play.
Yeah. If you were the new head of Star Wars, like Kevin Feige or Michelle Rejwan, how would you fix Star Wars?
Oh.
Fix Star Wars meaning that there's this huge fan divide.
Yeah.
There's a huge drop in merchandising. There are things that are like factually wrong with it. You know, like whether you like the new movies or not, that's less relevant. But there is a state of divide and dropping revenues and all this kind of stuff in terms of merchandising because the movies do great. But what would you do if you were in the captain's seat?
That's a really tough question because in terms of fixing fandom divide, I think you almost have to fix 2019 culture. I think the way that we talk about films
Yeah.
is wrong and broken.
yeah.
So I don't know that any one person has the power to fix that. It's like a collective change of society that needs to happen to get back to a place where we can just talk about movies.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's my answer. Because it's absolutely true. I think if you put out the original trilogy that is universally
Yeah.
somewhat, not everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but beloved, and the gold standard, not my Luke because of Last Jedi and blah, blah, blah. Even the prequels were very divisive. But if those original movies came out today, I think we would see something very different. I think we would see people reacting in ways that we are not reacting to, and I think it has everything to do with the film culture we're in.
We don't digest entertainment the way we used
No,
to. We're analysts. We're detectives. We're picking everything apart now.
Yeah, and I think I've seen people go online, they say something, and I'm like, I can't believe they're saying it. I think it's I think there's a front you put on when you're on social media,
Yeah.
whether it's projected or a blank avatar, is that you become somebody else. Maybe you're trying to stir up shit. Maybe you feel this way. Maybe you don't feel this way. I don't know what it is, but the culture can be. We were talking off air. Remember when you liked a movie because you just liked a movie? Yeah. Now I could go out on Twitter and say, I like this movie. I don't even care what movie it is. I like this blank movie, and somebody would probably get upset or come at me.
Most I've talked about my opinions on The Last Jedi in 2 years because it's not worth the abuse you get back online.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It can be exhausting, and to fix it, I mean, I have ideas creatively that I have no idea if anything can be fixed. Again, to your point, I would want to see a series based on Luke Skywalker that takes place immediately after Return of the Jedi.
So this is what I would do. Okay,
And I want to see what he does.
The philosophical kind of social perspective that you guys are taking, I actually totally agree with. Is a bigger problem. There's a bigger problem
There is,
than just Star Wars, right?
right.
But you know, what I would do is kind of like when, like around the 1400s, right after the Dark Ages. Sort of European culture needed to find something to sort of rally around, right? So what happened is that they started bringing up all of the ancient Greek and Roman literature, right? Their perception of beauty, right?
Yeah.
The Greeks' perception of beauty, like the way that the Greeks would create the face and the nose and like the posing and like the morality of the Roman gods and all this stuff. It was called the Renaissance, right? There was like this return.
Heard of her.
This return to the values that made the thing great. Okay, not to sound like MAGA here, but there are some brand pillars that we talk a lot about on this show. The Big Mac, we call it the Big Mac, right? The special sauce, lettuce, cheese, like the thing that like
The Force is essentially
like when
the
you walk
Big
into
Mac.
when you walk into a McDonald's and like if you were to walk into McDonald's and there was no Big Mac on the menu, you're gonna say something's wrong.
Something happened. Yeah.
And to me, that's how I've been feeling about these new Star Wars movies: is that it lacks the Force, it lacks Jedi, it lacks lightsabers, it lacks certain things, right?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
Go
It's
ahead.
that it's not that the Big Mac is gone with these new trilogy. I think that the Big Mac has been repackaged in a way that a lot of people are like, this is not the Big Mac I remember. But I remember that Big Mac. It's in there somewhere. But again, I'm saying that because Rise of Skywalker has a lot of work to do. We've said this because of the Snokes and the theories and how they're connected to the Skywalkers and Ben Solo and Kylo Ren and how is Luke coming back in.
People keep sending us money. Okay,
I know they do, but I need to ask you this question.
Charm.
Yeah, you are a lucky charm. I've never seen this.
Before we
I've
get
never
to
seen
that,
this. So just like Cody, just like can you scream, because I just feel bad that some of these questions are going away.
I got them. I'm looking at them, but I do have this idea that I do want to first touch on this.
It's just, to the listeners and the supporters out there, we do appreciate it.
Yes.
We know that every dollar is very, very difficult to earn. And the fact that you're contributing it to us to be a part of this show means a lot to us.
Yes.
So if we don't get to it, we want to apologize. We're trying here.
We're trying. It's great seeing this. But on this idea
Go ahead.
of Star Wars being so divisive, what is something that a lot of people love about Star Wars in general that gets people excited? When you hear something, do you know where I'm going with this?
No.
When you hear the da-na, na-na-na-na-na, that gets you in a mood. When you hear the fanfare, when you hear Rey's theme now, which is arguably one of the best themes, the new themes that he created.
Beautiful.
The Duel of Fates from your beloved prequels.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting everything we've ever heard in the Star Wars universe?
This is the name of the video.
In Rise of Skywalker. I'm getting on my soapbox. I'm bringing in the main topic.
Yeah,
because when Don
topic
Williams just said that John Williams created 135 minutes of Star Wars music.
Which is a possible runtime leak.
Which could be a possible runtime leak. It could be around that time. Around that, because people were bringing up The Last Jedi and how much time was there. But I'm talking about, I don't even care runtimes. Every single theme that he created in this movie, I'm going to lose my mind. And he said, Don Williams said, It's blink and you'll miss it moments. You're going to hear it and you're going to, whoa, there it was. And that's what I love about Williams is that he's able to just kind of score. Like somebody will mention, like it's in Force Awakens. Perfect example. Force Awakens. Kylo Ren is looking at the charred helmet of Darth Vader and he says, please, grandfather, the light is calling to me. I need help. You hear this, dun, 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 dun. And that was the only Imperial March we've gotten since. And then I remember The Last Jedi had a few refrains. But that idea, like Yoda's mentioned, we get a little bit of Yoda music, which we got in The Last Jedi. Duel of Fates. I believe we're going to get a big flourish of Duel of Fates because I think Rey and Kylo Ren, because of what Kevin Smith, what Kevin Smith said about it melting our mind.
Yeah.
I feel like Duel of Fates is going to come in. But here's what I'm wondering. Are
that
you
song
big
from
score,
Last Jedi, which I love?
Which one?
The one from the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
The idea of every theme showing up gets me really excited because if a theme shows up, and I'm going to bring up Anakin and Padme's love theme, that's every theme, right? That's falling under what he's saying. That means we're going to have a reference to Anakin and Padme.
I don't buy this story.
From John Williams' brother?
There's something about this story that seems weird to me.
John Williams' brother was just talking off the...
It's a good source. Have you heard the story yet?
I'm going to believe it until I see it,
Just from this breakdown.
Right.
He's saying every theme is going to show up.
Every
Now,
single one.
Okay, so original trilogy, I get. You know,
And the
Leia's theme is the damn Rise of Skywalker
the movie is
trailer.
shorter than it.
Well, yeah, I know.
God, is that a
It's
spoiler?
a very long.
No.
People know how long it is, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been revealed.
Okay.
2 hours and 45 minutes, which, by the way...
I'm drawing the line at calling a runtime a spoiler. I reject that thesis.
Right.
Somebody yelled at me for spoiling the Deadpool trailer.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got that one day.
Okay, so do you actually
Son of a
believe...
bitch.
Do you actually believe that the Rise of Skywalker is going to have a hint or a touch of every single song scored and written ever for Star Wars all in one movie? It's like, God, this movie
Yes and
already
no.
has to explain to me what the hell happened to Kylo. How was he so easily seduced? It's got to explain to me who the hell Snoke is. It's got to explain to me so much.
But he
that
said
now you're going to give me
theme.
every song too?
He said every theme. Now, I'm not expecting the asteroid field music to play, but it kind of already did when he used that flourish, at least the Falcon escaping in New Hope. He brought that music back in The Last Jedi. So, yes, I do believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely believe. But when you break it down to what he's saying, theme, that doesn't mean all the music from all the movies. I'm talking themes that are very recognizable. Character themes and or... It's mostly characters.
Yeah.
And or, the fanfare that we all know and love. But I think themes, absolutely. I think we could see an Anakin and Padme theme. I think we can get a Duel of the Fates. I think we can get Sidious's themes. I think we can get, that's coming back for sure. For sure. That's coming back. Darth Vader's theme, the Imperial March. Yes. Let's go to the prequels. Some of the other themes that were created for the prequels, like Anakin and Padme's love theme, Across the Stars. That's going to come in there. And I believe that's very important to connect to Kylo Ren and the lineage of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
Padme's in there sometime.
First of all, I love your passion and your gusto for the Star Wars music because it's genuine. It's also
delightful.
Yeah, it's
But
delightful.
it's every theme.
It's making me want to change the title of this video
So Mark Reilly talks about the Star Wars theme. We can do that.
to whatever all the other things we talked about because I just can't see it on screen. But
again,
you know what it's-
this
you
is
know
what
what
he
it
said.
reminds me
It's
of?
blink and you'll miss it. Small refrains.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It's the thing that I hate the most in television, okay? Which is the clip out episode.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing worse than the clip out episode for any show.
I hate
Okay.
those episodes too, yeah.
The clip out episodes are the absolute worst. And like when I hear this story, it gives me the clip out movie vibe.
What you think?
And it's like, come on, man. Like
Do you
this
think
is
Leia's gonna
friggin'
talk to
Skywalker-
Rey?
What?
Leia's going to talk to Rey and go, you know what reminds me of that time that back when I was, you know what? It was a cold day back in Alderaan. And it goes back there and it's like,
It's
and they
like,
just play a
come on,
clip of
dude.
A New Hope.
You
Yeah.
guys are dealing with the crown jewel of the entertainment industry. Like the most valuable IP created maybe ever, like after like all the great religious doctrines of our time. When it comes to IP,
Yeah.
you have you have Homer, and you have who's the other guy? It was Homer? Who's the Homer and
Socrates.
Whatever the Roman version of him. But you have these gods,
Oh,
right?
God.
Like the guy who
I
did
know
the
what you mean.
Aeneid. The guy who did the Aeneid. Anyway, I can't believe I just totally
That's
spaced on that.
killing me. Just keep going.
Okay. But
Homer?
so you have the gods, right? You have the
Right.
Greek and Roman gods. This is
Right.
powerful IP that we still know well today.
Right.
You have all the other religious doctrines, IP that we still know well today. Star Wars has that level of power. And that level of power has been usurped in the last 5 years, or the last 10 years maybe, heavily by Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Now Marvel is like the king of IP, but Star Wars is still maybe the strongest IP pound for pound. And, you're doing the last movie. You're trying to wrap up the Skywalker saga legacy, and you're doing a clip-out episode?
I know why you feel this way.
Yeah.
But there is no way they're going to play full
Of course not. Of course not.
expressed
Of course not.
themes. They're going to touch on them, and
Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying. Now, do I think he's embellishing a bit? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have every single theme. I think there's going to be hints of them throughout that are going to maybe be 2 seconds, 5 seconds at the most, and then he's going to express other themes a little bit more deeply. But you can't rule out the idea of him adding a little bit of Yoda flavor here because they're talking about the deep intricacies of the Force or
Right.
whatever. But I buy it and I love it. But to a bigger question is 135 minutes of score could be a very good indication of how long Rise of Skywalker is going to be.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a long movie. So, okay.
I love it, yeah.
Can we get to some of those super
Virgil?
chat? Virgil. Thank
Virgil.
you.
You're welcome. It was
Virgil and
tormenting
Homer.
me.
Yeah. Virgil and Homer.
Virgil.
Virgil
I was
wrote
like,
the Aeneid.
Virgil? Did he send in a super chat question?
Virgil is the Roman poet who wrote the Aeneid. Homer is the Greek poet who wrote the Iliad.
Mm-hmm.
So, in any case, can we hit some of these like super chat things? I'm feeling guilty about
I
it.
got Dylan Trost who writes, Reylo won't be trash anymore when we learn that Kylo sacrificed his entire life for one reason, to get Palpatine to Anakin. I'll finish what you started. I don't understand that. I'll be to get
Dylan.
Palpatine to Anakin. Anakin is gone unless we have a Force Ghost. I'm trying to work out what Dylan is trying to ask here.
Yeah.
Palpatine is coming back. Anakin, I don't understand that. So if you want to, you don't have to pay a super chat, but if you want to elaborate on that, we would definitely take your question.
And we had a $10 one before. We totally, I think we totally spaced on it.
No, Dan the Man, have an
Yeah.
idea I'd like to pitch to Disney for a show. Retconning Darth Maul's death for one. Then we have Maul, Windu, Ahsoka, Mara, Galen, and Coda as teachers at Luke's Academy. Should I go through with it?
Yes.
Dan the Man,
Absolutely.
go for it.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Go through with
Go,
it, of course.
Go for it. I don't understand that one as well because Mace. Okay, so Darth Maul is retconned, and then we have Maul, Windu, Ahsoka. So then
It's
he's
basically Harry
retconned.
Potter. It's basically like Star Wars Potter.
This is Star Wars Potter.
I'm in. Pitch it, bro.
Yeah, Darth Maul.
Dan the Man.
Darth Maul is he's kind of an asshole at that Jedi Academy. He's the kid you watch out for. He's the kid
He's
that walks
Draco,
up.
Draco. Or
He's
whatever.
like, how you doing, Ahsoka? Hey, pats her on the back and it says, "Kick me."
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
walks up. He's
Draco.
with his
He's
spider
Draco.
legs walking
Yeah.
off. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Dan the Man. Some of these questions, again, I will ask them. Sorry, we didn't understand those ones. Here's one. The last one I can find. Joel Ralston asks, I think The Force Awakens has parallels to Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal. Do you think Rey and Kylo could have a Mystic Skeksis type of connection? Ooh.
Like it.
Haley, take this one.
You like, yeah, Dark Crystals. Dark Crystal, they have a kind of a telepathic connection. I haven't seen it for years, so I
Lucky
don't really.
for you guys, I just rewatched it.
Did you? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
God.
Lucky
you
for
can
me
answer
too,
this
because I
question.
would not be able to answer
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Right.
Basically, yes, they're the two sort of sects that have been separated,
Right.
and I don't know if you remember towards the end, one gets cut and he goes, my hand, and so the other guy goes, and so
Ow,
my hand.
Yeah.
And ultimately the gist is that when the Dark Crystal is repaired, these two sects reconverged into one greater race that had been divided by this shattering of the Dark Crystal.
That's asexual.
Yeah, sorry, sects.
Oh, I thought.
I have a bit of a
Sects.
speech impediment. I do
No.
apologize.
No, it's all good.
Yes, the sects.
The sects.
Segments, let's say.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I do.
I
find
didn't. I mean, just
fair enough.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. Could they have like repair into one greater consciousness or race or power? Is there something that broke? Maybe is there something that broke the Force?
Right.
And can that be repaired?
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe that's what they're really trying to do, right? Like to that point, if you have one thing that gets split, right? Like the curse of the Tower of Babel, right? Where in humanity at one point everybody spoke the same language.
Right.
Okay? Then God got really angry and set a curse on the Tower of Babel, and then language fractured from there. And now you can't, even if you go like 100 feet from somebody, people speak in different dialects, and there's like this virus of the fracturing of language, which is how we all communicate, right? So maybe maybe this is what the Benioff and Weiss stuff is going to talk about, right?
I think Benioff and Weiss are going to go back and way back, and I think that I would love to see this, The First Jedi. That's what it's called, The First Jedi.
The First Jedi.
Yeah. What is it like? Who is the person that went? Well, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I just moved this rock with my mind.
Yeah.
Let's explore that. I think that would be very interesting.
Look, we're running 5 minutes over here. No more callers. 323-522-55.
No, I think
that's it. It's over, right?
It's over. We
It's
got
over.
we got Haley, who's got to go back to. I'm assuming do some work like I have to do,
I
like
gotta
you
go
have
home.
to.
You gotta
gotta
go
go
home,
home.
I was off at 5, y'all. I'm just I'm here for fun.
Well,
All right,
with
good,
that,
good.
Haley
Well,
Fouch,
we've had a lot of fun. Thank you,
you
Haley.
very
Thank you,
much for
guys.
joining us on Rule of Two. And please, everybody, check out The Witching Hour. I know you have a new time slot. Is that correct?
Yes,
so
yes.
Please tell us where you can find The Witching Hour.
Yeah, absolutely. We are now airing on Thursdays. We used to be on Tuesdays, but we pushed it back a couple days. It's a good choice, trust me. It's going to be good for content.
You guys
I know
are going to
nobody likes
Tuesday?
change.
You guys are going to Tuesday?
We
You
were
were?
Tuesday. We're going to Thursday.
You're going from Tuesday to Thursday.
It's
okay.
a good
Thursday's kind of
move, I
like
promise.
party day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get more time for the news to soak in for
Yeah.
the week.
Yeah.
We're not going to be recording the episode like, oh my God, it's Monday.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Because
about
you guys
horror
used to
for
record it
Monday
on Monday.
mornings.
Gotcha.
yeah. So
right,
it's
because then
great.
we'd run. Yeah, because back in the day, we'd run into conflicts. I'd be outside, like, what the hell's
Right.
going on? Well, it's the witching hour in there, and I'm like, well, get them the hell out of there ASAP.
Yeah,
So look,
Thursday. It's
Thursday.
really good groovy time slot. You guys are gonna like it, I promise.
Cool. That's
and
great.
and you, if you're a fan, you guys will be at the film festival this weekend.
Yes, the North Bend Film Festival in North Bend, Washington, where they filmed Twin Peaks. It's going to be a hoot. There's going to be a lot of artsy indie cinema.
You guys are having fun.
It's
Yeah.
going to be good.
That's going to be fun.
Speaking of Twin Peaks, Collider Games is
Yeah.
making the Twin Peaks VR game, so be on the
Yeah.
lookout for that. We're going to be announcing some more stuff about that coming up soon. So
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That just shows you we have some exciting things coming to not only Collider.com, but Collider Video. Check that out. You can follow me at Reilly Around on Twitter, at Marc Fernandez. This has been Rule of Two. It's episode 53, and at Haley Fouch.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got it. I was, thank God I knew it. But thank you very much, Haley, for joining us on Rule of Two.
thank you very much, Haley.
Episode
Thank you.
53 in the books. Please, if you like this episode, hit that little subscribe button there at the top of the Collider videos every Monday, PST, 5 p.m. We go live. We take your calls. We take your questions. We have the live chat. Thank you for joining us. And, of course, subscribe to the Jedi Council PodcastOne feed where you can find Rule of Two. And we'll be back with an all-new episode next week. See you then.
Rise.